I'll try to just introduce you how to bring this biomolecule toolkit within a lab environment, because this is a nice theoretical environment, and I guess there is some work to do there. So what is lab reality? After a few years of spending time with scientists in the lab, in small environments, in startups now, a lot of startups or small labs, I noticed that there is not only one single lab reality, sorry. There are many laboratory reality. There are laboratory reality very simple, such as the sample management. This is one reality. And you have as well reality that are profoundly strategic, like people that like to have access to data for fundraising occasions or for regulatory purpose. So if I take that over, the lab reality is quite complex. It's a very complex equation, which regroups a lot of parameters, from which I would certainly isolate a few of them, which is not the last version, that's okay. I would certainly isolate 4 startups at the time, Dominique, the diversity, which could be represented as well as accuracy and the flexibility. So the key points for small environments there is to make sure that you have tools in place to facilitate the work of all the different persons in the lab or in the small environment in order to ensure a kind of sustainable development of the company. And this is exactly what Texelia is willing to do together with ChemAxon by integrating the biomolecule toolkit within the BioScity environments. So what is BioScity? Very briefly, this is a web-based translational information component that allows to manage your entities. And what is entity? It could be as simple as small molecule or large molecules. Could be cell line, could be animals, whatever you like to have. Obviously, you have data that are going together with those entities, and the objective is to merge all together in one single repository. In addition to that, BioScity is giving 2 functionality that are interesting. The first one is out-of-the-box simple interface, which is great, and once again is web-based. And the second part is that part of the environment is I would say open source, even if I shouldn't say that, but at least it's accessible by the end user in order to facilitate the integration and possibly to modify the environment with the time and with the development of the company. It looks like this, so I won't spend too much time on that, but as you can see, there are 3 parts that are dedicated for certain activities. For the chemists in the room, and I know that there are many of them there, so there is obviously a component that is dedicated to small molecules. Obviously, you can as well deal with small molecules, but this is not the objective of the talk there. The objective is definitely to take a picture of how to integrate and what is the integration of the biomolecule toolkit together with the BioScity environment. So what looks like the environment, it's quite simple as well. So this is a 3-layer component. On the first layer, you have the different GUI that are allowing the input and output of data within the database, as well as some interfaces to connect external tools like ELN. In the middle part, you have the core part of the systems with the 2 core components that are on one side the biomolecule toolkit from ChemAxon that is directly integrated with Springo. This is the core management system provided by Texelia. And on the bottom part of that, you have all necessary APIs or whatever connections. I'm sorry, I'm not an IT guy, so I don't have all the details there. To be able to connect to the database you like to connect to. So it could be MySQL, but it could be Oracle as well. It depends on the environment. So BioScity is providing the data hierarchy and the processes environment. This is not a scientific tool, so I will come back to the scientific part behind. BioScience is really bringing the processes and the structure of the database. It allows to go from a plasmid down to a result via the 2 or 3 important entities, such as the protein and the container. As you can see there are 2 layers that are together or closely related. This is the protein, and this is the BioToolkit. Both of them are working together and are closely integrated in order that during the registration, you can immediately retrieve information and populate the database as well. So this is exactly the value of the great tool that was developed by ChemAxon. So Biomolecule Toolkit in this case is definitely permitting or facilitating the integration and the work with larger molecules. But not only that, because having a sequence is quite easy. It's more important that Biomolecule Toolkit as a scientific interface allows to retrieve and to store scientific information and to do this scientific analysis. And by doing that regularly, you are able to populate, as said by Roland, you are able to populate the knowledge database from the laboratory. And the more you populate, the more information you will be able to retrieve from that database. And very importantly, because ChemAxon is regularly working on the development and thinking of new ideas, there are new development ongoing, and we are a bit building the car while driving for the time being. So I would briefly show you that there. So if you take on the red part of the text there, you have all the part that is done by BioScity. It's very standard work, so that means it allows to do the registration from a sequence, from an ID, from a name potentially. It will check all the processes, whether this molecule is already inside. It will deal with the batches, with the samples potentially, and you will be able to register using your own workflows or properties. And definitely it provides some customization for the end user. And the yellow part on the bottom there is the part that is provided by ChemAxon. This is the access to Biomolecule Toolkit allows you, for example, to calculate the properties of the molecule you are registering directly online and to return that in your database. But as well, potentially, and this is something that is quite interesting for me, namely for the proteins and for the even larger molecule, larger than simply a peptide, to access external database to retrieve information from outside. After that step and that scientific step that is done with ChemAxon, then you move back to BioScity, and then you have very standard workflow for lab people, where you are registering biodata, you are able to search for information inside, you are able to report information to the different end user in the format you like to have. So this mix between the 2 software or the 2 pieces there is quite interesting. And moreover, and this is an interesting part as well, so as I said before, this is only a few of the things you can do with BioScity. You are able to do some customization that are sometimes very simple, like display options, but that could be as well very significant, for example, by defining your data structure and your processes, and you do that by yourself. This is proprietary. That means people that are working with the tools have all the information and all the code inside to do their work by themselves. So in summary, briefly, by having those 2 tools and very complementary tools together merged, you are allowed to have a very simple and quite flexible database to manage your large entities. And this management is possible thanks to the integration of the scientific part brought by Biomolecule Toolkit. And in addition, and this is quite important as well, so you have the ability, or the end user has the ability to adjust the environment in function of the time and the development of the company. Very interestingly, and this is just to give you an information, this Biomolecule Toolkit was developed for other applications, and typically there, this is a picture of the mouse database that is integrated in one customer. So that means they have used this environment to manage their mouse and the mice they have inside, and to deal with the information that are coming from the mice. And this is integrated with the software that, or the database that is outside of the environment as well. So I'm done there. So I think I was quite quick there. If you like to have any demo questions, don't hesitate to go on the booth. The Texelia guys are there. They are ready to give you an answer. Same thing for Biomolecule Toolkit. Roland is extremely precious. He gives a lot of information. So I think there is a good mix there, and certainly the opportunity for new development in the area of large molecules. Thank you.